this is Golosolandia. And for me, Christmas brings a lot of delicious smells. So I'm gonna show you the 3 that remind me the most of Christmas. And one of them you won't expect, because one of the scents I love is cinnamon. Look at this cake. It's unbelievable how amazing it looks. Let's start by preparing the dough, which today I'm going to make homemade, simply by putting a cup and a half of flour in a large bowl with a pinch of salt. We're gonna mix this, and we're also going to add the sugar, 4 tablespoons or 70 grams. Let's give it a few stirs, so these dry ingredients are evenly distributed. And then we'll add the butter. As you can see, I've cut it into pieces and it's cold from the fridge. You can always mix with clean hands, but if you have gloves, it'll be more comfortable. You just have to squeeze and release until this gets a texture like coarse crumbs. Once it looks like this, add a splash of flavor. In this case, I'm going to use vanilla, about a tablespoon of vanilla essence extract or flavoring. And also, we add an egg, one of the large ones, size L, which weighs about 62 1/4 ounces. From there, just start mixing it around. We're gonna let the moisture from the egg blend with the flour. And this, in the end, little by little, turns into a dough. When you can no longer mix it with a spatula or spoon and no one can continue, it's time to use your hand and press it down again. The method is the usual one. We take all the dough, since some of it always sticks here. Come on, let's press and release, until it starts forming into a kind of ball. Don't worry, you don't need to work so hard. In just a minute or 2, you'll get a workable ball of dough. And with this texture, see how your fingers leave marks? Does that mean we already have dough ready to make this spectacular tart? Or any other? What we're gonna do now is cover this dough to make sure the texture is perfect later and it stays firm. We're going to leave it in the fridge or refrigerator to cool for about half an hour, at least 20 minutes. We're gonna let it chill so we can work with it properly later. So let's rest a little, do other things. Let's subscribe to the channel right now, hit like fun stuff, things that, by the way, are really good for me. And then we take the dough out of the fridge and work with it, and you'll see how simple it is. We're just going to stretch it directly in the mold. Make a disc, place it in the mold, press it down with our fingers, and that's it. The mold, what you use doesn't really matter. The only important thing is to prepare it well so it doesn't stick. Either you spread a good layer of butter on it, or it's made of silicone, so it's easy to unmold. Or you can use parchment paper, but ensure the base doesn't stick to the mold. That's essential. As you saw, we put the base in, and also make sure it goes up a couple of centimeters on the sides. And now I'm gonna put a piece of parchment paper on top so I can add some weight. The trick is here to fold it really well a couple of times. Then stretch it out when it's wrinkled. It's much easier to get into all the corners, and since the dough is a bit moist, it sticks perfectly without any problem. Easy, 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 easy. What I'll do now is what I said, put an easy weight on it. You can use small stones, you can use beans. I always have a bag of lentils that I only use for this purpose. I think I've already baked them about 20 times, so when I finish baking this little cake, I put them away again and use them again. What I have now is the oven preheated to 180 degrees Celsius, which is about 355 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to place this marvel in the lower middle part. Here it goes. I have it with heat from above and below, and if possible, without the fan. And we're gonna bake it for 20 minutes. After that time, you'll notice how the edge starts to brown. And that's what we're looking for the edge to be cooked. Time to take it out of the oven and set it aside, because while it cools down a bit, we'll prepare the cream, which is super easy. First, we're gonna heat the butter. You can do it in a double boiler or in the microwave, like I do. Just heat up 20 grams or a big tablespoon of butter until it's melted. I set it aside while I make a very simple mixture with 2 eggs and sugar. In this case, we're going to use 7 tablespoons, about 125 grams. we're also going to add cornstarch, which is about 60 grams, or 3 heaping tablespoons. And we're going to mix all of this really well. So give it a few quick stirs like this, until you have a kind of yellow cream that's more or less uniform. If you have silicone whisks like I do, you can do it directly in the pot since they don't scratch. Then we add the melted butter we had, and the milk. A whole liter. The easiest way is to do it like this, by stirring. This way, it comes together in a moment, and you have a smooth liquid, perfect to heat up. But of course, before that, we add flavor with 2 small cinnamon sticks, or 1 big stick, like I have here. This will give the mixture its characteristic flavor. Alright, let's go to the stove. We put it on medium heat, or a little higher, but not much more, and stir gently until it turns into a cream. And that's it. Once this cream is ready, just like the word says, creamy, it's done. You can remove it from the heat, and that's it. But if you want the layer to be a bit thicker, you can cook it for another minute or a few more minutes until it has less liquid and is thicker. That depends on your taste. In the end, if you want it very thick, leave it for a longer time. Let's go. Once it was heated, I left it for a little over a minute, and it already has this creamy texture. I'm taking it off the heat to keep it very liquid. If you want it thicker, just leave it on longer. Now, I remove the paper with these lentils, which I'm going to set aside once again, and we fill the mold with the cream we just prepared. It's that easy. There's really nothing more to it. But if you want the final result to be as perfect as possible, I recommend that once you put all the cream inside the mold with the cookie base we made, you place a paper like this on top. A plastic sheet, also called plastic wrap. And the important thing is that it touches the surface of the cream almost everywhere. Once you have the plastic wrap on, let it cool down, and once it's cooled, put it in the fridge or refrigerator. As long as you want, at least 4 hours. You can make it a day ahead, that's fine. The flavors come together and it turns out perfect. The important thing is that it's nice and cool and the flavors have blended. Also, the cream thickens a bit in the cold, and that's what makes it so good. As you're about to see, because I'm gonna take it out of here, decorate it, and enjoy. And it'll be as easy as removing the plastic wrap we just put on and taking off the ring from the mold. Just like that, come on, look how it looks. It's perfect now. I'll have some fun decorating and make it as easy as it looks. With the help of something flat and a strainer, I sprinkle ground cinnamon. This way, you create stripes easily and professionally. Most importantly, as with people, it's what's inside that counts. And look, 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 look. What an amazing looking dessert. Look at the slice. Look at the slice. Look at the slice. What a fantasy! Don't tell me you don't want to take a bite right now. But before that, let me remind you of the second flavor of the day, nougat, which is a must in my house. And in this cake or pie, it's amazing. The first thing we do is crush half a bar of nougat very well. So here I go. We chop it up really well. It's about 300 grams, so that it ends up really, really small. Remember that I'm using Gijona nougat, the soft kind. If you can't find it in your country, you can use any other sweet that has a crumbly texture and is soft. And now we're going to coat a typical cake mold with liquid caramel. This is optional. If you want to skip it, that's fine. Just line the mold well with baking paper, which also prevents it from sticking to the mold. And now the mixture is super easy. We put the eggs in a blender, in the jar of your blender or mixer. And if you don't have one, that's okay. In a large bowl, beat it with a whisk. And you're also going to add the chopped nougat. So here, a few seconds of patience because we have to add everything in, spoonful by spoonful. And now we just need the third ingredient, which is half a liter of milk, 2.5 cups. And in it goes. If you have issues or don't like milk, you can use other products that are lactose-free, oat milk, almond milk, whichever you prefer. Once we have everything, What's next? You can guess, can't you? Cover it and turn on the machine until you have a completely smooth liquid. Let's get to it. Let's give it a good go. I hope you're enjoying the idea and that you take this moment to subscribe to the channel as well. Of course, that way, you'll always be up to date with all the news. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll get reminders. And meanwhile, I'll finish mixing everything up. Hey, I'm gonna ask you a quick question. Do you have Tehran in your country? And if you don't have Tehran, what do you think is the most similar product you have available? I think that in Argentina, for example, Mantecol is very typical, and it would give you a slightly different result, but also super tasty. Well, another little tip. Look, once everything is mixed, taste the mixture like this. If you want, you could adjust it with a bit of vanilla or a bit of sugar, depending on your personal taste. Now, I fill the mold. I use a spoon so the mixture doesn't pour directly onto the caramel and disturb it. If you want to make it with just 3 ingredients, you can. You just have to leave out the liquid caramel. You line the mold well with parchment paper and it will also come out easily. And since the nougat is going to be tasty, the result will be tasty too. After pouring in all the liquid, you can see our mold is about 22 centimeters long and 8 centimeters wide. The batter is the typical cake batter and I place it on an oven-safe tray. What I do now is pour hot water into the tray, but making sure it doesn't get our dessert wet. And we're going to fill it up, more or less up to the height of 2 or 3 fingers, so that about 1/3 of the mold is filled with hot water. This way, we'll prepare a bain-marie inside the oven and it'll turn out nice and juicy. All right, preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 355 Fahrenheit. And we place this tray inside on the lower middle rack with heat from above and below and, if possible, without the fan. Now that we have it in the oven, I'm going to pause for a second to explain the timing to you. Look, there's something here. It depends on what kind of result you want to achieve with your dessert. If you want it set exactly like a flan, about an hour easily. If you see that it starts to brown too much on top, you can cover the mold with aluminum foil without any problem, and it will stop browning. You can leave it in as long as needed. If you want the center to be a bit creamy, which is what I'm gonna try to do, let's see if it works out, then 45 minutes. I think that's how it's gonna be. So let's try it, and we'll see the result right away. In total. And to sum up, I had it in the oven for 45 minutes, then I turned the oven off, left it inside for half an hour with the oven off, and then let it cool. For that, I always cover it with a paper towel or absorbent paper so that the temperature drops evenly, and it turns out perfect once it's lukewarm. Into the fridge or refrigerator. With it, 2 hours would be enough. But I always recommend at least 4 hours. Or, if you can, from one day to the next. So the flavors come together and it turns out perfect. Perfect. After that time, in my case, the next day I reap the fruit of my labor. Here it is. The truth is, working just a little. I do all the work. The oven, I just spend 5 minutes stirring it and not much more. Now I run a little knife around the edge to make sure it will come out of the mold perfectly. And now my dessert will be ready to enjoy. I'm going to grab a tray where I want to present it, flip it over, and plop, here it is. You can already see the caramel dripping down right in front of the camera. And that's just fantastic. Look at how amazing it looks, what a color, and well, if you could enjoy the aroma, it would be just fantastic. 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 Really. Can we make this better? Well, it's hard. Honestly, it's hard. But you can always try. I'm gonna give it a bit of volume, just with a little bit of finely chopped nougat on top. And that's it. I think it doesn't need any extra decoration or anything strange. Just enjoy it. And now let's see if I've been successful. And it has a little creamy part inside. Let's see. Now the nerves are kicking in. Let's hope there's a part that gives us that different touch. And there it is. Creamy inside and a set edge. All the pleasures in the same dessert. I don't know whether to call it cake, tart, or flan. The point is, it's delicious. Look how amazing that slice looks. Makes you want some, doesn't it? Of course, and I'm going to introduce you to the third flavor that always comes to me at Christmas. The cookie. Cookie desserts always win at Christmas, and the one I'm showing you here is no exception. Come on, let's do it. Who doesn't like a good coffee with milk and cookies? Well, we can use that same idea. Let's move on to a dessert. Yes, just like that. And it turns out creamy and delicious. It doesn't need an oven. There are only a few ingredients, and you won't believe how good it tastes. We start with milk, and I'm going to use this pitcher to measure 750 milliliters, or 3 3/4 cups. I open my cornstarch container and take out spoonfuls, specifically 6, which is about 60 ounces, and I add it to the pot where I've put the milk. Once we have this in, what we're gonna do is add something to make it sweet. Today I'm adding sugar, regular white sugar, the same kind as always, and I do the same thing. 6 spoonfuls in, which is about 60 grams. Now it's time to stir and stir while this heats up, because we're gonna put it on medium or medium-low heat. But at first it will be cold, and the cornstarch will dissolve with the sugar in no time. And when you no longer see any lumps. Coffee goes in. We're going to add 250 milliliters, or 1 1/4 cups. As the mixture heats up, look how creamy it gets when you see it this creamy. Take it off the heat, take it off. Get a pack of cookies ready, because we're gonna use it. Keep everything close to the mold I'm going to use and place a layer at the bottom. I'm using a container about 22 centimeters long and 15-16 centimeters wide. I put a layer and then place cookies on top so that they more or less cover the surface of the container. It's that easy. I'm using Maria-type cookies, but you can use whichever ones you like, so you have a bit of room to play around. For example, some calentamiento cookies would go fantastically, as you might have imagined. The rest will be to layer crepita and cookies, making sure that the last layer is cookies. Then you let it cool, and once it's cooled, put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. But don't worry, this is the kind of dessert that turns out perfect if you keep it overnight. So take your time, make it whenever you have a moment, and it's convenient for you. The night before works perfectly. Once you're ready to enjoy it, take it out and dig in. You can sprinkle some cocoa on top to decorate, but I'll use cinnamon, which I think pairs even better with coffee. There you go, dessert is ready. Don't tell me you don't want some. Success guaranteed. And now, I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. Oh my, this looks delicious. Look at that amazing appearance. Oh my, and with that touch of cinnamon on top, now we're talking. Perfect for a dessert. Look at the slice, look at the slice, look at the slice. How delicious, how fantastic, how creamy. Today, I showed you 3 desserts that remind me of 3 flavors. They'll be a hit this holiday season. I hope you'll tell me in the comments what smell reminds you of Christmas. This way, we all learn together. As always, I'll leave a video here that I'm sure you'll love. Click and keep enjoying.